hello, and welcome to a new episode of Have We Really Met? Welcome back to another episode of Have We Really Met? My name is Dominique, as always, and today I am going to be interviewing one of my dear friends from Hawaii, who also happens to be a highly talented skeptic. I'm just kidding. A highly talented psychic and intuitive who also has his own business and does readings online, in Zoom, phone, the whole thing. So let's see what Richard has to say.
You look amazing.
You need to get your video on.
Is my video not on?
No.
Oh, shucks. There you go.
There you go.
I thought I had it on.
No, I was like, he's going to start any minute, right?
You look amazing. Look how beautiful you are.
Thank you. You need to stop.
You know, if I would have seen you in high school, I probably would have been fucking straight.
Oh my God, you just made my life. Thank you. Oh my God.
Gorgeous. Look how great you look.
Oh, thank you. Wow. Well, you know how to put a girl in her place, I guess. Thank you. Oh my God. How are you?
I'm doing well. I had to pick up my glasses because I've been struggling with reading. So I have transitioned to what do you call that? Progressive lenses, as we used to call them, bifocals back in the days.
Uh-huh.
So I've gone from single vision all my life to progressive lenses. So now I have been reading and doing this like gauge the lettering and trying to figure my sweet spot out.
Yeah.
For the past like year. So I finally admitted that I needed some help in my reading so I can see and stop adjusting. And I went to pick up my glasses today because I have like 3 books on my nightstand that I want to enjoy and read, but I can't because I'm constantly trying to find a sweet spot with my vision.
No, I hear you. I keep doing the same thing where like I'll look at my phone and then I catch myself doing the old lady thing where I'm like, yep, I know. Yep, and I know it's because I'm farsighted, so if I like try to put it too close to my face, then I'm like, like I can't do that.
Well, I was doing that too, but I was like, I need to make my font size bigger, and I went into the settings in my iPhone, and it was already on the largest font size.
Man, yeah, that's the suck shit about getting older. It's like bifocals and everything hurts, and you're like, wait,
everything hurts, and I was like, I was like, I used to be able to do this stuff when I was younger, but now that I'm 40, it's like, my God, life has changed.
Yeah, that's what I love. I love those TikToks that show people that like, today's going to be a great day. And then it's like, your knees, the fuck it is, Just like, oh yeah, I'm over 40. That's right.
That's the way I feel. That's the way I've been feeling. It's like, I went to visit my mom in San Antonio. I hadn't been home in San Antonio. I was there last week for a week. I hadn't been home to San Antonio since the beginning of the pandemic.
Holy
since
crap.
before the beginning. So it's been almost 5 years that I've gone home. And I went home and I see my mom's parents are older, and I see my sister's gotten older, and I see my mom is older. And then I'm walking down my mom's hallway and I look into the hallway mirror and I go, now I'm older.
Yeah.
I have gray hair, and it's like, wow, you don't think you get to that point and then you're there,
Oh no, I get reminded every January when all 3 of my kids go up a year. And this year in particular, my daughter has been very vocal about reminding us that she's no longer going to be in the teens. She's going to be 20. And I'm like, when did I jump to the geriatric phase of my life? Because you're 20.
I was at the grocery store in San Antonio and I didn't get carded for alcohol. And I was like, nobody's going to ask me for my ID anymore. I'm kind of sad.
Yeah.
So.
Or you make the comment when they do, and you're like, oh, you want my ID? And they're like, it's standard, ma'am. And you're like, you just called me ma'am. Like, that just made it worse. Like, why can't it just be, Yeah, I mean, like you look young enough to have to
Well,
ask
here in
for it.
Hawaii, when the younger kids call you uncle, hey uncle, how's it going? I'm like, who the you are you are not that much younger than me. And how old are you? 21. Oh my god, never mind. I
Yeah.
am your uncle. You know?
Yeah. No, I'm not
Yeah.
ready to. And that's the thing, like I've been wearing my hair in a ponytail for like the last week and a half because I have like my hair appointment tomorrow to finally like dye the old lady out of my head.
Mhm.
And one of my students was like, she said something to the effect of like, "Are you wearing a ponytail again today?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she goes, "It's like 28 degrees outside. Why are you wearing a ponytail?" And I'm like, "Look, some of us don't want to give away all of our beauty secrets at once, okay?" And she was like, "Oh yeah, my mom does that when it's about time to get her hair done." Oh. I was like, "Shut your dirty mouth right now." The class doesn't need to know this. This is not on the test.
I know.
Okay, so before we go any further on this, let's introduce you. Who are you? Why are you on my podcast?
Well, I am. We actually met through a mutual friend, and I am Richard Ricafrente. I was formerly known as Richard Gaona before I took on my husband's name. Um, I took his name on because I loved him so much that I wanted to be a part of him, and
Oh,
that's why I have Ricafrente as his last name. I am a former state of Hawaii teacher, and I'm now a full time tarot read, cartomancer, and psychic here in Hawaii. And that's what I do here now. That's who I am. Um, just a pathway, a person that helps people in their pathways in spirituality, whatever they may need to help, greater, them seek their greater self or their higher self in a better, better state of mind, better state of being, and purpose. That's me. That's what I want to do. That's my persona. You know, and how long have we known each other? We've known each other for quite a few years.
since I've known Bella, so since 2016?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And Bella should be on here soon. She's gonna I need to schedule her in, but she'll be on here on one of these. But yeah.
I need to see Bella. I miss her. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, you do.
I
I
need
just
to.
went to go see her last weekend. I flew to
Did you
Vegas
guys
to go
see
see her.
RuPaul's Drag Race?
Yes, that's the first thing we did. Yes, like that
How
was.
was it? Did you guys enjoy it?
Oh, I loved it. It was so great. And it was so funny because we got sat in a booth with a couple from Tasmania. And the couple was very like, "Oh, yeah, do you know anything about Australia?" And I was like, "Actually, I do because I want to go. It's on my bucket list." And he goes, "Well, what do you know about Australia?" And I was like, "Well, I know Sydney's not the capital." And he goes, "All right, then." He just like instantly got all super smiley and was happy. But then the show started and they stopped smiling. Like they did not get into it. And okay, let me tell you, you do not go to a drag show with me where I'm not dancing half of the show. I was dancing the entire show. Like I was in the side of my booth, just like, yeah, like let's get this. And I was so happy. And every time I turned around to look at, Deb and Bella, they were like, yeah, laughing. And this couple from Tasmania were just like, hmm, this is interesting. You know, like
Wow.
not breaking face at all. And I just kept thinking, why would you spend the money to come to a drag show if you're not going to enjoy the shit out of the show? Like, what's wrong with
That
you?
is awkward. That is
And it
awkward.
was, it was. And the worst part was the show was phenomenal. And the person who was running it she was just like on point the whole way. She was the best MC. She even got up at one point, was part of it. Like it was so good. So I have nothing but high praise for it. It was we go back. We're going to go see that because it was so fun. So
It
fun.
is such an amazing. Jared and I have actually seen it twice, and we
Woohoo.
went back. We got to see it twice, and we took our niece the second time. She had such a freaking good time with it. It was really fun. It was
Where
really
were you
fun.
guys sitting when you went?
We sat in one of the booths, like maybe like the third row up, from the stage,
Oh,
kind of
okay.
toward the center, kind of toward the center.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we had our little booth, and Jared and I did the whole cocktails and the RuPaul's Drag Race cups and stuff and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, and that was it.
I wanted to get the shirt from the gift shop that said "You better work" and it was
Jared
WERK.
actually is he actually has that shirt.
Does he? I wanted it, and the line was so long, and I just kept thinking, like, I'm gonna wear this every time I have to give a test because I just wanted, you gonna
You
work
better.
today,
That's such a good. Yeah.
right? But the
Next
line
time I
was
go to Vegas, I'll send it to you because I'll be going to Vegas not too far down the road, I'm sure.
yeah, such like we were only I was only there for 2.5 days. And we went to the drag show. We went to the Luxor to go see the King Tut exhibit, which was really, really
Oh,
cool.
that I
But
know it was. Yeah, I heard that was supposed to be cool.
it is cool. It's I don't know. Like it just there was a lot of recreations in it versus like real museum pieces. I mean, it was worth it, but I was really upset because right next to it was the Titanic exhibit and they had all of the pictures of people on the staircase from the Titanic movie. So I was just like, Bella, I will pay the money just to go get the movie shot. And she was like, all right, girl, go get it. And then I was like, how much is it? And they're like $38. And I'm like, maybe next time. Because I just
Yeah,
dropped $40 for King Tut and then like another $100 for the RuPaul show. So I was like, next time. But I want
yeah.
the picture.
I was totally, yeah. When I saw that, but the Luxor's really trying to stay alive. They're really trying to keep it alive. Doesn't it look kind of sad? Some of
So the last
the
time I was at the Luxor, I will be honest, because like I didn't when she said that we were gonna go to the Luxor, I was like, oh yeah, okay. And she was like,
okay,
why? The last time I was at the Luxor was literally I stayed there the night before I got married. And that was the last time I had been there. So going back, it was different people, different memories, but I was still like, I don't want to go in there.
yeah. I don't blame you. I totally get it.
But it was
We
good. I
Jared,
mean, we had a good time. It was fun.
that's really awesome. But Jared and I really want to live there one day. You know,
I don't blame you. It's fun. It's
it is
fun,
fun. And the only reason we want to live there is because there's everybody who's anybody goes through there for a concert. We can always get
right?
tickets to whatever we want. That's the only reason you want to go there. Because we come to Hawaii, you have to fight for tickets and blood, sweat, and tears to try
Yeah.
to see a show here.
Yeah.
You know,
I got very
yeah.
lucky because we got to go see Post Malone a couple of weekends ago. And then the night that well, no, the day after I flew into Vegas to see Bella, Post Malone was playing there too. And I was like, oh, I just saw him last weekend. And I was so excited. So I tried to look for tickets because I was like, maybe we can get some like really shitty out in the, nosebleed seats because he puts on a really good like
So I've heard,
I
yeah.
love Post Malone. He got me through my divorce. He got me through some after shit. Like, I love him. So being able to see him in person and have him sing I Fall Apart right in front of me. I mean, we got really lucky with our seats. He was only like 8 rows away from us. And so having him sing that 3/4 of the way through the concert, it was one of those cathartic moments for me. I cried, but I also felt like having him sing that song was the universe's gift to me and also the universe saying, "Okay, now that chapter is closed, now it's time to go." Like move on now, kind of
It's
thing.
so it's so funny how like music just realivens and brings back memories and helps us to heal and helps us to transcend
Oh
in us
yeah.
on a spiritual plane. You know that
Oh, it
uh,
does.
it
It
does.
does.
It does.
Because I
You
literally
know,
said, if because when we were on our way to the concert, I said, there's 3 songs I really want him to sing. One was Sunflower, because sunflowers happen to be my signature
I
flower on
remember that. I
everything.
remember that
And
story. Yeah.
yeah, I Fall Apart because then it would let me know that the universe is ready just for me to let go of all of the past stuff and move on. And then
Right.
the other one was Rockstar because I really love that song and it's one of those like vices where you're just like, I shouldn't love this song, but I do. And he sang all 3 of them. And I was like, he's saying his old stuff, his new. It was great. So anyway, so we were in Vegas and I looked and the cheapest ticket I could find for him in Vegas was $700. So I was like, maybe not
Yeah.
this time. But the funnier part was on the way back on the plane, there was a whole bunch of people wearing his sweater from that concert. And I was like, oh, well, I got people to talk to on the plane though. So that's cool. I knew who my people were. It was great. But yeah, I don't blame you because all the best concerts were playing. Like the Jonas Brothers, Post Malone, and then there was one other concert going on that night. And it was like that trifecta of
We had gone to see
concerts.
Shania Twain when we were there. We saw Shania Twain.
Really?
She puts on an excellent show too. She was at Planet Hollywood, and so we got to see her there, and she puts on the. I mean, there's just the romance and the what she's been through and all the stuff that
Oh
she's gone
yeah.
through, like her, like the kind of like the wife swapping or the couple swapping they did, and her that was
That
totally
was
interesting.
weird. Yeah, just a
It
little
was
bit.
weird, but at the same time, I we went and Jr. was not a really big fan until after he saw her concert. And he was like, "Oh my god, I'm so in love with her. She's such an amazing person." And, you see how hard she's worked to be who she's at. She was an amazing person to see.
Yeah, no, samesies. That's Ronnie. He had to listen to it in the car all the time. And then because I was playing it on every road trip. And then when we got to go see him, he was like, "All right, I'm sold. I am a super fan now." And then on top of that, like a couple of days later, he's messing with me. He's like, "Okay, so I did something." I'm like, "What'd you do?" And he goes, "I ordered myself a blanket, a throw pillow, or a throw blanket." And I was like, "Okay." And he shows me the picture, and it was legit a Post Malone throw blanket, and I was so mad. I'm like, "Why would you get that for yourself? I'm the one who introduced you." Like, I was like, so mad, only to come to find out I was punking me because it was really for me, but he wanted to see, like, if I would, and I reacted the way he thought I would, like a jealous
That's
bitch. So
that is hilarious.
so yeah, so I got that, but I also got the pop figures, the Funko Pop figures. I have two. I have one of him in his armor from his Circles video, and then one of him in a suit with a cigarette. Because that's just who he is. But yeah, I'm super fan. It's horrible. But no, I like I said, going back to the music is just such a healing thing on the spiritual level, and just yeah, totally,
the
totally.
words and the words in music, and even if there's just instrumental music, the things that happen with it, that actually transcends our minds, our thoughts, our being.
Hmm.
Music is very, very healing, and I always prescribe that as a remedy for people that really need that. I prescribe what I call sound healing. Find a song that makes you feel good. Change that energy and vibe where you need your thoughts to change. What is something that you aspire to? But you always have those, melodramatic people or clients that come for a reading, and they'll play the sad somber music. Well, if you're going to play sad somber music, your mind's going to stay there. So
You're
how
gonna
do you
wallow. Yeah.
you're gonna wallow. How do you get yourself out of that point? How do you seek the healing that you deserve? It's all up to the person. Healing is something that, when it comes to music, it does not just healing. It gets us in happy moods, and puts us in. It can. I mean, the movies use it to help fear. Like, we're in a horror movie, we see the scary part, we hear the screeching violin.
Mhm.
I mean, look at Psycho.
Oh,
Before he
yeah.
goes into he goes
Or
into the
Jaws.
tower.
Yeah. Ding,
You
ding,
know,
ding. Yeah, the whole
yeah, it allows us to connect, a sound, or that sound. The sound connects us on different levels in different ways, and Hollywood's figured that out. The Catholic Church has even figured it, and even today in the psycho evangelical movement. Sorry, I mean the evangelical movement. they
yes.
they have wonderful music with great lyrics that are motivational at the same time, that touches the soul. Music is something that I have to live by. I mean, I have a what do you call that? The Apple iHome, the what do you call it? The Siri pod, and it totally
Yeah, yeah,
plays the
yeah.
music, whatever. I just hate, hey Siri, play a song, and then she'll play a song, whatever. Or I just have it set to hey Siri, stop.
What was it starting to play?
She started to play. I have no idea. Something from Journey.
Just a small town girl. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's where you gotta be. That's awesome. Okay,
Yeah.
so I have a question for you because this is going off in a totally different but I
Oh, go
love
ahead.
this
Shoot. Shoot.
conversation. I love this.
Oh
Okay,
yeah, it's good.
so two questions about the music thing. Okay, one, I was watching this TikTok with this lady who was like green screening herself on top of somebody's like conspiracy video, right? Totally going off into the witches and demons thing. But she was basically saying like you have to be careful of the music you listen to because music are spells. Like so if you sing a song over and over and over again that's sad and whatever or talks about destruction and all of it, you're going to call that into do you believe that?
Yes and no. Do I believe that? Yes and no. Okay. If your intent is to listen to Michael Jackson's Thriller because it's Halloween, it's Halloween. You're getting into the spirit of the vibe of Halloween. That Thriller is one of those songs that you get into the spirit of the vibe. There was even a disclaimer at the beginning of Jackson's video way back when in the 80s. It
I
said, you
remember.
remember that? It said
Yeah.
the views of the occult are not part of our deal. They had to put up the disclaimer because of religious fanatics and things like that. But they realized it was just a video. It was just to reflect emotion. Now, the psychological perspective of that is where it gets bad. If you listen to a song to wallow in the emotional side constantly and constantly, you're at some point you're going to start to believe that there's something going on. The belief is where it's dangerous. You cannot believe that the belief is the psychological belief is where it's dangerous, and that's why the mind is a very powerful tool, and it's a light, it's a beacon, and
Hmm.
you cannot allow yourself to hear a certain piece of music and believe that it's real. um Michael Jackson's Thriller is an example. What's another example? Something with a love story, or something with a love story where there's violins and orchestra. There's the guy's running to the girl, the girl's running to the guy. They come together and they kiss. We all love that pitter patter feeling of the throat of the emotion. These are wonderful things to have, but I mean, you're seeing a funeral scene in a movie, or you're seeing that you're at a funeral, and um, there's a Maroon 5 song about their friend that that passed away, who was their manager. I can't think of the name of the song right now. Uh, but it was a tribute to this friend, and now people use this song at funerals as a remembrance for loved ones who have passed, to express their memory, to express their. Now, if you take that song and you are constantly remembering this person, and you cannot move on and allow yourself to move on from the tragic death, then of course it's going to be negative or toxic. You
Right.
use it, it can become obsessive or toxic or negative. Absolutely. It's all about moderation. It's all about temperance. That's what
Okay.
temperance. The temperance cards, not too much, not too much, not too little, just right.
The
Temperance
balance.
is a
Yeah.
balance, is that balance. When you look in tarot, um, it is the balance that is important when it comes to spirituality and music. You're absolutely right. On the other hand, not everything is evil, not everything is good. Some things there's it's everything in moderation. Like anything, everything in moderation. If I hear heavy metal music, I'm gonna go back to my old days in high school and think about when I was in the back of the band hall trying to act like a heavy metal nerd. Those were the days, but it was just heavy. Could I understand all the lyrics? No. I thought they said some of it. No, it doesn't mean that it's evil. I mean, look at Kiss. There's the '70s. He said Kiss
Oh,
was
the hysteria that went
the
around.
hysteria
Yeah.
of Kiss, and now they're grandpas. Those guys are grandpas.
Yeah. See, and that's the thing for me too, because I feel like music is extremely healing if you use it the right
Absolutely.
way. If you
Right.
wallow in it, it just, yeah, it will kill your vibe. It'll just like keep you stuck because you don't review the playlist. And I literally have multiple playlists on my Spotify and phone where it's like feeling down music, or I need, what was it? I called it I need an upper. And it's usually
Re-
just like,
It, and it could be thing culturally. There's even in Spanish culture, there are beautiful mariachi songs that you would hear, but they're drinking songs, and everybody's and they're wallowing songs, and they're sad songs, and you're drinking to your friend's death, and they do the
yeah.
grito, you know, you know.
Yeah.
Another song would be the. I always like to use the movie reference because movies are the ones
Oh
that
yeah.
really show us the emotion, right? Coco, the movie Coco, with the grandmother, "Remember Me." That's a
Hmm.
wonderful song, and it's can be taken. Oh my gosh, you can be sad, or you can actually look at it from a perspective of, I'm happy. Wow, I remember the person in the good times and the happy times. So
Right.
this song is very reflective of the duality of where you take it. So you can take it to somewhere a very sad place, or you can take it to a place that's very high level, and it's all about the person's perception. And and what I teach, what I try to teach, is to elevate the person's perception into a higher plane, into a higher level of like, let's get to a better place. The glass is not half empty; it's half full. Let's try to lift up our minds, our vibration, so that we can be at a better better plane of spirituality. It's very easy to go to a dark place, and there are a lot of people that go there, and you have to really try to get them to readjust, refocus. How do we get them to how do we as spiritualists, how do I as a spiritualist redirect them and say, look, you have to try your best, you have to do what is best for you. If you can't see the best for you, then someone convincing you that you're the best is not going to work unless you believe it, unless you take it to some point there. you know Sometimes it takes years for people to come out of their funk. But then again, sometimes it doesn't take years. It's just a matter of they're so used to being in that emotion that they're stuck.
I
You know,
think it's also like you said, it's a balance, right? You have those who
balance.
get stuck because they're wallowing in it, but they're not looking at why they're in the darkness or what the darkness is supposed to
The why
represent.
is the what, where, and why is so important. You're
Exactly. And
absolutely
the how is not
the how.
the thing. The how is not the thing. The what, the why. Those are the lessons that need to be like really honed in on. Like, why are you here in this moment? And then lean into it.
Absolutely.
The quicker you lean in and you embrace the shadow and figure out why the shadow was showing up in the first place to make you, it's the mirror. Everybody hates the shadow mirror because they don't want to face their darkness. They're okay wallowing in it because then they get dark and moody. I know I've been there, but the thing is, the quicker I recognized that if I tried to stay in the sunshine uh inauthentically, I'm here. I'm just going to stay here. I'm not going to pay attention to the shit that's behind me because that's
Exactly.
uncomfortable. But the minute you turn around and you face that uncomfortableness and you go, "Okay," and you throw your hands wide and say, "Why am I here in this darkness? Show me what I need to know." The minute that you are willing to face it, the quicker you heal.
That is so true. That is so true. As you know, in my past, I was headed for the priesthood at one
Mhm.
point in my life, and I was devastated when I was asked to leave the priesthood because I had gotten sick, and they were like, "Pay your bills first, and then come back to the priesthood, and then we'll talk about that's the way the Catholic Church works." It's like, what about the whole healing of people and stuff? I went to this place where I got really really dark place, and I was like, God, I've been rejected by the church, and at one point I was thinking,
So, really quick, walk people who are watching and listening to this through that. What happened? What happened?
so what ended up happening is I was doing really well in seminary in those days, and I was a very I will be honest, I was a great student. I was always involved with activities and doing things and planning things for the church, and I was things were just great. And one day I had a pain in my stomach that came, and I didn't know what it was. And then we had this Polish celebration or Polish cultural celebration. We had a lot of South Texas Polish people that were in part of the seminary, and so they had a big dinner. And Polish food is absolutely greasy.
Oh, yeah.
And come to find out, I had a really bad gallbladder attack. I had to go to the hospital.
Mm.
Uh, by the time I got to the hospital, the doctor was like, we need a urine sample." My urine was orange when I went to the hospital. I had gallstones that came out of my gallbladder and were blocking my common bowel duct, and I needed to have emergency gallbladder surgery. So I was in the hospital for about 9 days in the hospital because I was totally jaundiced. They're trying to bring my skin tone back to normal, my bilirubin's
Mm.
down
Oh my
from
God.
well, come to find out, after that happened, I came out of the seminary a week passed after being back at the seminary. At the seminary calls me and says, "Oh, the rector would like to see you in the office." So sure. So I got to the seminary, got to the rector's office, and he says, "Well, the archbishop has asked me to leave you because right when you were about to transition, uh, you got really sick, and he believes that this is a sign from God that you need to take care of this bill that you accrued with while you were with us. You accumulated this hospital bill, so since we're not going to take care of it, you need to take care of it first, and then when you're done, then we'll consider you coming back right now. So this is what happens.
Oh my
Okay,
God.
so then I that happens, and I was like, okay. So upon the advice of somebody from the faculties, like Richard, what they're doing to you is unjust. You need to sue them. So I did, and I won. And I won. They paid my medical bills, and then I said, maybe the church is not for me. I've always been involved in a high level of spirituality, especially um, what I like to call is Christian mysticism, the mystical side of things, the forecastings, and the foretellings, and the belief that how did Christ heal with his hands? How did that the mystical
Mm-hmm.
side of things? How did he walk on water? That kind of the deeper type of spirituality. And I remember, I was like, what am I going to do with my life? Because you put all your eggs in the basket after this happens, and you're so angry with the church at this point. And I realized, I remember just thinking, being out of a job, not, thinking about what are my next steps. And I was really in a dark place. It put me in a dark place because you really think you're going to do something with your life, and then life turns around and slaps you and hits you in a different direction.
Right.
And so I was in a dark place. I prayed. I said, God, you're going to show me. And I believe that there's this universal God. There's something, there's a supreme being. There is this universal existence there's betterment coming for my life. I have to have faith, and I can't let it go. And with that comes um, my teeth. What I mean by teeth, I was out of the seminary, and I needed to have some work done on my teeth. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't even have my dent. And in those days, Obamacare had kicked in yet, and
Mm.
you didn't. It wasn't like you got health insurance and coverage automatically again. You had to wait 30 days before your coverage would start in those days, and I needed to get dental work. And I was like, God, I wish I could find someone that would even love me for my teeth. And that was I just put it out in the universe, right? And I did. And fast forward, I meet my husband, I meet my partner, my love of my life, and we began dating back and forth. It was this back and forth thing for about a year or so between San Antonio and Hawaii, and I fell in love. And I moved to Hawaii, and first thing I do when I get here is chip a tooth.
Oh God.
Kid you not. I'm like, oh my God, I need to go to the dentist. So I go to the dentist. He takes me to his dentist. He puts me on his health insurance here in Hawaii, on his medical insurance. Make sure it's covered. The next day, I have that tooth. It was a wisdom tooth that chipped.
Oh my
He
God.
had my I had my wisdom tooth extracted, and the first words that he came out of his mouth was, "I even love you all the way even to your teeth."
Oh
And
my
this is a
God.
true story, you
Oh my
know.
God,
And it's
Richard.
just, it came full circle. It
Hmm.
came full circle. And but for a long time there, I was in a dark place. I was in a dark place, and I was very in this, Eeyore kind of a mentality. Life sucks, and that's the way it was. But you start to realize that the universe has other plans for you. It starts to redirect you in a different way.
Oh
You
gosh,
know,
yeah. Yeah, for sure.
I'll tell you, when I wanted to come do this full time and help people spiritually speaking. I've been praying for it, praying for it, praying for it. And I said, I want to. Then my not I come to find out my father-in-law started to develop severe dementia. I was getting home from school, teaching high school, getting home from school, and he would leave the stove on, and he'd be asleep on the sofa,
Oh,
or things were happening like that. And I realized this is my point to stay home and take care of him, and not only that, but at the same time, I can move into my to do my readings full time, and that's where I've been ever since. It's like you don't know where God or the universe is going to take you, and you see this redirection. You have to be willing and open to accept the redirection. You cannot just say, "Oh no, I'm going to wait. This is not it. This is not it." You have to accept what's coming for you because it's mystical. I don't know how to tell you. Like it's just segue, boom. Okay, gallbladder, boom. Okay,
Yeah.
Hawaii, boom. Okay, I love your teeth. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
and it is. It really is. It really is. It's like even now, I go back and I reflect on the things that have happened, even as a child. Um, I remember my mom and dad had separated as a kid, and she was dating this one wonderful guy named Jr. Okay, and his name was Jr. too.
His name was JR.
And he and I had a great friendship. We used to play, Transformers and stuff, and I remember specifically as a kid watching the episodes of the Brady Bunch in Hawaii, where the Brady Bunch goes to Hawaii
Oh, the
and
vacation
the
episodes. Yeah.
vacation episodes, and they come to Hawaii and they're playing. So and so finds a tiki
The
that's
tiki.
cursed,
Yeah.
the cursed tiki or
The
whatever.
curse.
Yeah, and the next thing you know, Jr. moved on with his life because he was in the military and he got transferred somewhere else. And then my mom started to stop dating him. Then my mom and dad reconciled. And I remember thinking to myself as a kid, I hope I have someone like a friend like Jr. again, and I hope I get to go to Hawaii one day, just like the Brady Bunch. And I remember I come full everything comes forward now. Here I am, you know, 20, 30 years later, and I'm thinking
Hmm.
to myself, my partner's name is JR. I'm living in Hawaii. He loves my tea, and I'm not a priest, you know.
But you
And
are a spiritual being
I am
nonetheless,
a
and you
spiritual being.
help guide.
I have helped a lot of people, and I will tell you, I always that's my prayer that my hope is that I help people find direction and to go where they need to go. That's the higher self is. Some people do want things out of selfishness. Some people want things out of genuine purpose,
Oh,
and
yeah.
that is a huge difference. When there's a selfish intent behind what you want, it's never going to happen. But if there's a genuine purpose for what you want out there and you genuinely see yourself going in that direction, the universe will make it happen.
So, how do you
God will make
differentiate then? How do you differentiate? What's selfish
it.
for one person?
Selfish. Selfish can be obsession.
Oh,
Obsessive about it. When people obsess, like the universe is not bringing me what I want, and they obsess about something. Maybe the universe did bring you something. I always use the example of there was a dear friend of mine begging for money. Oh God, I need money. I need money. And we were walking down the street one day, and he kicks a penny down the street. I said, "Pick up the penny. You just got done praying for money. Pick up
you
the
didn't pick it
penny.
up. Yeah.
Pick up the penny. You just got." I said, and I finally said, "There's a difference in prayer." I said, "There's a difference in what you put out in your universe. How about you pray that you are prosperous, that you can provide? How about you pray
That's a
that,
good
or
way to
you
put it.
meditate? Yeah. How about you pray that you're able to have enough work to be able to fill your lots and what you need to provide for your family, for yourself, and those that are in need. When you pray for prosperity, it happens. But when you pray for money, you're praying for the object, and then you get a penny in your road, and then you kick it down the street."
Right.
And that's not really showing the appreciation of the universe. How do you change that about?
See, and I
You
always
know?
go back to the story about the man drowning in the ocean and he asks for God to save him. And
Yeah.
then those three boats come by and he keeps spinning, no, God, I prayed to God, God's gonna save me. And then he doesn't take the opportunity to get on a boat. He dies, goes to heaven, and then God's like, why are you here? I sent you three boats, and oh, and it's like this epiphany that happens for people when it's hindsight versus it's staring you in the face as an opportunity.
Right.
And
Right.
I'm the same way. When I give readings to people, I will get this hit, like instant download of they were given multiple chances and opportunities and they chose not to take it because it didn't look the way they wanted it to, so they denied
Exactly.
it. And
Exactly.
you're asking for the same thing, but you're not willing to accept it as anything but your own version or vision. And it needs to be more open. And you also need to be more receptive to the idea that it's not always going to look the way you think it should look. And opportunity has a really crazy way of showing up in various forms.
And it's amazing how, as a spiritualist, and as someone that is spiritual on a spiritual plane, you can see the person, and they you can tell when a person's sincere, when they really need the help. And you can see a lot of, when there's ego, and there's a lot of ego, and you guys, we as spiritualists and people that we read, we know where there's ego and where there's humility. You really have to be humble in to the universe. You have to be able to analyze, understand, and figure out where is what I like to call the spirit, or where is the probability leading you? Where's the probability of the universe leading you?
Yeah,
You
yeah,
cannot just it's you cannot just say it's a one road direction. I mean, you may want to go right, but the universe is going to take you left, up, south. It's like Tetris. You have to be able to know the direction, that and understand the signs and the signals. And people tend to ignore the signs. They
hmm,
ignore the signals, the red flags, as you would say. They may want a partner that, for example, they may want a partner that they want to love and they want to care about, and they want that love. But that person that is with them will never be at that level of love, because they're not there yet. They're not there yet.
yeah.
A perfect example is, look at this man. You have the example you just gave me. He was gonna see your reaction about the Post Malone blanket, and you was like, "I bought it for you." Those little gifts,
Hmm.
are amazing. My husband today, I get a knock at the door this morning, and I was like, "What is this knock at the door?" I'll show you this right now. He goes, I said, "JR, there's a package for you at the door. What did you order?" "Oh, go open it. Go open it. You've been wanting this and you couldn't find it. You're all upset about it." So he gives me a surprise. He goes, "Go look at it." He orders me this gaudy gold Starbucks cup.
I love it.
Hey, this doesn't smell homosexual, but does. You know what I mean?
Maybe my purple version of that exact same cup that my daughter bought for me a couple weeks ago. I have been drinking my Crystal Light from that ever since, and it's purple amethyst. I love it. But yes, oh my
Yeah.
God, I
I
love
was
that he got
dying.
that for
I
you.
was like, you see these signals, and those little acts of love and kindness that you look for.
Hmm.
And it's not selfish. It was like he was excited for me to get the surprise. He was excited for me to, and he was excited, like your partner was, your other half was excited for
Even
you
though he was
to
messing with
get
me
to
the
see the
whole
reaction, to
time.
see. Absolutely, absolutely, and I totally understand. I totally understand that. But to differentiate between the two, you have to be able to be willing to surrender, and let go, and let it go, because that's one thing that it's hard. The hardest part to do is to be vulnerable. That's very hard, because we want to be the masters of our own ship. A lot of the
Hmm.
times, the captains of this life. You cannot. I mean, I'm a prime example of the way my life has taken detours. I mean, I was going to be a Catholic priest, for crying out loud, and thank God I left it, because during those days, that was when all the scandal was coming out. That was all the molestation was coming out, and all this
Yeah,
stuff about. I did not want to be associated with an organization that hid this cloud behind this cloud, and this sackcloth of just you know nastiness. It's not a. It's
right.
not. It's not something good. And I was like, wow, God took me, or the universe took me out of that fast, and segued me here, and brought me this way, and it's taken me full circle. I I often use um examples that um I find it interesting, how the universe works. I'll give you one more example. Um, my one of my dear friends, this very spiritual woman. Her name is Auntie Mela Kim. She's a very prayerful woman and spiritualist. Her last son, he's 24 years old, is moving to Seattle and starting his life. And her and her husband are going to be empty nesters.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And they're very, very good people. And she's having a hard time letting him go. This is her. I mean, he's 24 years old, but he's finished school. He's ready to start his life, and he's ready to get engaged and married to this girl that he's been dating back and forth, and she's been waiting for him to come to Seattle. And so my niece, out of surprise to us, had a baby and got married and had this wonderful wedding and stuff last year. She had a baby recently, and she decided to ask to Auntie Mela and her husband to be the godparents. Okay, and Auntie Mela and I were talking. I said, Auntie Mela, do you not see the intervention of the way the universe has worked in your life? She's like, how? Here you are sending off your last child into the
Yeah,
universe, and you still need here is this newborn baby coming into your life so that you can be a part of to help raise this child to be a better person, to be this good thing. So you cannot tell me that is not the universe at work and play in our society, in our world and everything. It's just a matter of that surrender. And now that she's letting it go, she's like, oh my God, I did not realize that. What are the odds of this happening right now at this very moment, that your 24-year-old son, who's finally finished school, ready to start his life, ready to get engaged, ready to get married, who start his life in Seattle, is now going, and then you have this other child that has become a part of your life, who we didn't know you were going to be asked. Nobody had an idea you were going to be asked to be godparents. Now you're the god. She's like, I cannot. You are absolutely. I said, it's funny how that spirit works, or the universe works. And she said, yep, I see it now. And she became all smiles after that.
I
You know,
bet. Yeah,
you know.
sometimes I think it just you I think when people come to get readings, especially from me, they think I'm going to tell them what's going to happen in the next 6 weeks. And, I'm just going to have it all
Oh
planned out.
yeah,
I'm a different type of intuitive. I am a spiritual guidance intuitive. So
me
I
too.
know where you need to be headed. I can tell you inklings of things that are going to come if you stay on that path. But free will is a bitch, and you can change your mind at any time and change your path. So if it
Right.
doesn't end up happening, it's because you changed your footing. You decided to move a different direction. So you either put it farther off down the timeline, or you completely paused it because you decided to go in another direction. And I have had people come to me over readings over the same person repeatedly, and I'm like, this person's no good for you. And you've also stated this person's no good for you. The cards say that this person's no good for you. My instinct and my intuition is telling you this person is a detriment to your well-being. Yet it's what you said before. It's like you have to get you see their potential, but you also have to do the thing as a spiritualist where it's like, what is the want, what is the need, what is the highest good, and where do they belong, right, in this, to get realigned. And I cannot tell you how it hurts my heart sometimes to give repeated readings in the same message that they never listen to, because they just cannot bring themselves to
It
help themselves.
it is about maturity, and it is about, especially, I my first question to people in relay who want, or like, come to me for like relationship advice, or whether they're not, like, for example, is this: if you can answer this one question, then you understand love. I said, what is the highest point in love? And a lot of them
Mm,
will say, trusting one another or caring for one another. And they'll
no.
say all these opposite things. I said, do you know the highest point in love? I said, the highest point in love is forgiveness. That is the highest point in love. If you can argue with your partner and not hold a grudge and just act like nothing happened later on and things are fine and you guys understand each other, that is the highest point in love.
I think it's
And
also letting go,
letting go is another thing. That's another thing too.
because that's also
Letting
surrender. When you
go.
say, if
Oh
I allow
yeah.
you to go and I surrender to the truth that is, you're like you said earlier too, because it's, let's go back to what you said about the maturity, and that they're not at the level that they need to be at this moment. You have how many love stories where it's like, "Oh, we were
Oh
together
my
and then
god.
we were apart and then we got back together," because they were not their Mr. Right
Absolutely.
now. They were Mr. Right at the time until it got to that point where one had evolved past the other and they couldn't be together anymore. And then later on, they got back together because then they were back to alignment and everything was fine. But
You
now go
the
ahead. Good.
the wonderful things that the wonderful things that we say is like, if you can get to that point and you get to the point of letting go and saying, I forgive you for the things you've hurt me with, but I understand that in order for me to love myself
Oh,
and
yeah.
realize I should not be hurt anymore, I forgive you for everything and I'm going to move forward. And that person continues to hurt you over and over again, there's no reason for you to stay in that relationship. It's about that growth. If you come together in your relationship, you grow together. You grow together. You mature together. You prosper together. Your successes are their successes, and their successes are your successes. And you encourage each other, and you're each other's cheerleader. You're each other's witness to each other's life. Now, if it's a one-way street and there's a there's narcissism in that relationship, we know how you and I both know how that turns out for people who are
Yeah.
absolutely narcissistic. You know, the self-absorbed sponge that cannot get past their own juices. You know, that sounds that's a good expression.
It is. It
You
is
know,
because it's pervasive in every element of that relationship. It doesn't matter if you've given them trust, love, forgiveness, they are giving you back nothing but selfish intent. I, me, mine, and then there's no empathy. So you're continuously pouring out of your cup to give to this other person thinking, "Okay, one day I'm going to get this back in kind." Nothing of kindness comes back to you other than
uh,
love bombing, gaslighting, and then eventual leaving because they've soaked up everything they could from you. And now you're done. You're done. And then
it,
they move on so fast that your head spins and you're like, "Well, hold on a second. Wait. What just fucking happened?" You
yeah.
know?
And it's always that way too. It's like you're ready to heal, and that person's like, I can find another one of you. That's the mentality they have, you
Yep.
know? And it's so toxic. The reality is that type of that people who are like that are never gonna be satisfied. There's no satisfying a beast, a narcissistic beast. You cannot feed that person will eventually eat himself out in, eat his own ego.
Yeah.
And it's really sad, his or her ego. But then again, the laws of the universe do prevail in the end for those who have the good intent and want that balanced life, that want that life of temperance and balance and good and the bad. Life is full of lemons and oranges and grapes and all kinds of things, sour. But we all need to realize that there are more good events than there are bad events. And I really do feel like that was loud. I really do feel that there is a sense of harmony and joy that that you can have in your life that is worth having, especially if you love yourself enough. The example is love starts out as a seed. Love yourself first,
Yes.
nurture yourself, produce the fruit, be willing to share, bring that love into with other people, and you're gonna see this. Pay attention to the signs, pay attention to the signals, pay attention to the segues, and not try to fight against the current. Sometimes the universe, we have to go with the flow of the current wherever the universe takes us. I'm a prime example of that, and I've been the one of the lucky ones, and I will be honest with you that have got the real clear picture of like of the rose, the fruitful. How can I describe this? Like, I get the clear picture. Like, for example, the JR thing where I said I want a friend named JR one day. I want to live in, and I end up living in Hawaii. I want somebody just to love me my teeth, and then I come back and he's like, I even love your teeth. You know,
Hmm.
I've been one of the lucky ones that actually gets the direct response from the universe. That they're absolutely direct, and there's no clear cut, pace. But at the same time, there are people that need to read through the fog sometimes. You have to be able to read through the fog and say, I trust it. I'm going to go with the flow, and I need to be able to navigate this and to get to that point. We're all spiritual beings, you know?
Yeah,
We're all spiritual.
I heard this amazing sayings that said we're all spiritual beings having a human existence or a human experience. And I would, at the time when I heard it, I was just like, that's ridiculous. You know, like we're all meat suits. Like that's not a thing. And then I went on my own spiritual journey, and I literally I went in the middle of the woods and had an ayahuasca experience. And the thing that was crazy about it is that we were told by the person who was facilitating it, the shaman, that we had to go in with intentions and we had to ask the medicine directly, like, show me this, show me that, and you're going to get what you ask for. Well, being the overachiever that I am, walked up and I said, I want authentic self, I want higher self, and I want a broadening of my intuition because I wasn't able to trust it. And now I want to go back to trusting it. And I want to really lean into it now. I got all three. And when I say it was the most terrifying but enlightening experience in my entire life, I mean that. And the funny thing was, the higher self that came through to speak to me was this deeper, darker voice that just kept erupting out of my, I was hit my own microphone, that like literally just like erupted out of my throat to speak to me. And I was so taken aback by the fact that I was speaking out loud to myself, but I understood afterward it was the only way I was going to pay attention to myself. If I was speaking out loud, I was speaking life into what I needed to know and what I needed to understand. And I'm sitting there and I'm rehashing all of these like really dark memories, and I'm just thinking like, oh, like, and of course my reaction to be the love and light and sunshine and flowers person I am, I was like, I can't look at that. And that voice just like literally erupted out of me and said, you said higher self, this is what it means. So you will pay attention, you will grow the fuck up, and you will, you will do the work, because if you don't, you are never going to be your higher self. And I just thought, like, what, like it was the ass kicking I needed, though, because when that happened, it really made me sit up and pay attention and go, okay, this is from which I come from, and these are all of my insecurities, and this is why I feel this way, and this is why I don't want to look at it. But the more I kept trying to turn away from it, that voice just kept talking out loud and saying, it's not all sunshines and butterflies, is it? And just kept saying that to me like it was taunting me. Like, go ahead, fight it. See if you'll win. I know I'm gonna win, but I just go ahead and keep fighting, and it wouldn't let me go until I got to that other side of it. And I was in a completely different place afterward, where I was just like, this is what it is. Like, this is what it means to be in alignment with what your higher, because your higher self knows everything about you already, and it loves you completely. It just needs you to
Absolutely.
recognize it and say, I love me despite my drawbacks, despite the things that I've done that might bring shame or guilt or whatever. But I forgive myself because I love myself enough to forgive myself, because you only knew what you knew. You were only trying to survive, and there's nowhere else but up from this. So take that as an opportunity and climb. Ever since then, I cannot look at something without going, what are both sides to that, and how do I love both of them? Because how could you not? They're all part and parcel of the same thing.
These are just these are experiences that when people choose to look for their higher self, or their, we call the higher self, or to even begin the journey to reach where they need to go, or to have the goals they need to have, these are all pathways that they need to do. But you have to seek. People need to seek,
Mhm.
and seeing a spiritualist, seeing someone that is a spiritually inclined, these are just good ways for people to to find. Maybe there's a good book you could read, or there's research you could do, or something, in order for you to get to the point, so that you can find yourself again. Research and find out, or prayer, or meditation, or the ayahuasca visit. These are all experiences that we, as healers and light workers and spiritualists, try to guide people to. Maybe a lot of times when we do get we get some of these people that come see us, they don't they're not, that they're not at the spiritual, their higher self.
Oh yeah,
You
no.
we know they're not their higher self. And some people look at spiritualists like you and I like crazy, tree hugging folk that, dance around the moonlight naked, that kind of stuff,
Those are my people. Those are my people.
those are my people, you know, that's what they think. But the reality is, how do we get people to a better self, to their better being, to seek them a higher, better self? And that's what we need to do. It doesn't need to honestly be. There is no pathway is the correct pathway,
No,
and
everybody's
there's
so
everybody
different.
is totally different, and it's just a matter of that surrender, like you said.
Yeah.
It's a matter of allowing yourself to hear the voice or the spirit, and allowing yourself to continue to move forward and grow in that perspective, and in growth. And as spiritualists, we have to help people. We do. We really do. It's hard sometimes because no, you kind of want to stop them sometimes, like wake up. We're telling
Well,
you.
yeah. Well,
You
see, I thought it was really interesting when you said earlier about how like people come, and they come from a source of ego. And I
yeah,
think that was what was trying to keep me alive for so long and survive where I was intact because I realized that my ego is all in my head. And the more that
right.
the deeper I get into my head where I'm lost in thought or I'm really lost in those cycles of just negativity and stuff, that's my ego trying to save me by keeping me in the fear place so that way I don't make stupid
Exactly.
decisions. But that's why I think that voice came out and was speaking out loud, like, no, go past ego, listen to me, because I am who is trying to keep you alive
It,
now. You're
exactly.
it's time to move past the ego part of it. You're no longer trying to survive. Now you're trying to thrive. Listen to my voice. Like that is what it kept trying to tell me. And afterward, yeah, I was like, okay, no, I'm on board. Now I totally get this. And after that experience and really sitting with it and meditating with it and talking to the shaman afterward, and the shaman that I spoke to was very clear in her direct message to me because she took me and was like, like basically grabbed me by the chin and was like, you have got to stop being afraid of your gifts. And I had never told her that I was intuitive. I never told her I worked at like, I didn't, nothing, nothing. So the fact that she saw through it and knew exactly what I was trying to, duck and dive from, I guess it was like she knew. And the minute I said, how did you see that? She said, anybody who meets you would know on the spot if they were really paying attention. And I just was like floored.
I remember the first time I met you, I was like, you read. I think I even told you in your first reading, you read tarot cards. So
Yeah.
you're. I think I even told you that first time I met you.
Yeah,
I
that was
remember I was like, you have a spiritual gift. And I
I
remember
didn't
those
want to
days.
yeah, and it was so not comfortable for me to say out loud like, yeah, I'm totally intuitive and this is what I do because I had been so great at masking it because
Well,
I was
you told
told,
me some things when you've done readings for me that have absolutely have come to flourish. I mean, they've come true, and I have surrendered. You keep saying you need to leave teaching and you need to do this full time, and
I
you can't. I
did.
was like, and the universe led me there because I listened to you. You said you're gonna get a website soon, and sure enough, I found like a deal on a website, website builder, and I mean, just things that have happened for me, that I've listened to you because of your talents and your abilities. I mean,
How do I put this? I forget where I was going, honestly. Just intuition as a whole. I think the minute
we
you
have
start to take it out of the conversation away from who you are and what your bigger, higher self is, and you say, nope, I'm not going to listen to you because my ego knows better, you're lying to yourself.
exactly.
Because surrender is literally giving your higher self permission to come in, swoop in, go, hey, universe, you got that order? Great, let's do this thing, because those things go hand in hand.
You're absolutely right, and sometimes, not to get confused, because we really do want something as spiritualists, we can still allow our we have our egos still yet
Oh yeah,
that
no,
pop up.
come on.
They slowly pop up. We kind of forget the good things that have happened to us because of our surrendering, but then we're like, okay, let's back down, calm down, calm
Yeah.
down, let's relax. But I I am so happy that you are where you're at now, and I'm finally at a place now. Um, where it's like things have come around full circle. You
Oh
know,
yeah, for sure.
it's amazing. It's amazing.
So, okay, but like let's go back. How the very first time you and I met face to face was through Bella,
It was through
and it
Bella,
was because she took me to your house to go get a reading.
right?
And then then we realized, like, oh my gosh, you're working at Campbell. I graduated from Campbell. That's so
Yeah,
odd. And then you read. I know you read. You've got spiritual gifts. You're not telling anybody about why aren't you telling anybody about that? And it
yeah,
was very much like you called me on my shit the minute I sat across from you. And I think it was the next time I came, I asked if I could read you. And I was
yes.
like, okay, well, can I read you now? And you're like, sure. And from then on, it was game on. So,
To be honest with you, like I've always, I don't know, like I've always, I never let anybody read me. I don't, and
what?
you're like one of the only people that can read me.
Oh, you're one of those like, I'm gonna gatekeep my own shit.
Yeah, and then when I realized, you're like, wow, this I kind of like keep my stuff hidden, and I'm like, let Dom handle this. And as soon as Dominic takes over, I was like, she's girl, she got me. She's called me on my shit too.
Okay, but I
So
also think when you are as spiritually gifted as you are, though, it's very easy. Okay, go back a little bit, like what you said about like spiritual people can also be ego, in the ego. It makes it very easy for us to be in our ego when we see stories mirrored in front of us through people who come to us for advice. And it's easy to plop ourselves into their story and go, okay, I know exactly what you need to do
right,
because we're coming from our own place of, I know this, I know, but you know it, but only from your own perspective and experience. So
correct,
for when you were trying to be authentically unbiased in someone else's story, you do tend to put that wall up where you're like, I got to keep my stuff on my side, their stuff on their side, and then let spirit guide and all of the other things come through, but my stuff needs to stay behind this wall because therefore they are protected from my own story bleeding into theirs. That makes more sense than, oh, I just don't ever tell anybody. Mm. Because I know that I do that myself sometimes because I've gone to readers and they're just like, I'm having a really hard time reading you right now. And I'm like, oh, wait, hold on a second. And then I'll just, okay,
yeah.
what do you got for me?
I've also had the fishers, the guys that come up to you. They'll try to, oh, let me read you. I'm gonna read you. And they start to, you don't give them the permission to read. The kind of like sidewalk, what we call sidewalk psychics, or the people that are out
Yeah,
there.
you just made my mouth like tense up because I hate it's like snake oil people. I
It's
don't
yeah,
like it.
snake oil people, and unfortunately, the authenticity in that you have a lot of people. I actually recently I had someone try to use my persona on IG. I don't know if you see my IG.
No.
They took my picture and they were asking people for donations through using my picture, and I had to put up this whole thing on IG saying, that's not me. I would never ask for money from you guys. That's not me. I would not come in contact communicate with you via IG. That's basically what I said.
Yeah,
And
no.
so I reported that account to IG and all that kind of stuff. But anyways, yes, there are people out there that we also call what I call psychics that pry on like fear. They like to tell you if you don't do this, this and that. They pry on the fear of
Yeah.
the people, and then buy these candles and buy this stones and do this stuff, and you have to buy it from me in order for it to work. And they take advantage of people that way too. Those are
Mm.
the type of the things that I've had, and that's one of the reasons that I'm kind of weary with who I have read with me, because you have those people that are energy vampires, and they try to they pry on people's fears, and they try to those sidewalk psychics,
Yeah.
those doomsday.
Mm.
I call them doomsday psychics.
Yeah.
You know,
No, that's
and
a good way to put it. They're snake oil
yeah,
salesmen, they're doomsday, they're Gloomy Tuesday readers that want to tell you if
Gloomy
you come
Tuesday
back to the
readers
next day, they'll help you with that hex that you have on
come
you.
back, but for another $599, I can help you fix.
I love how
This is
you're
the
like,
type of,
but come
unfortunately,
back and I'll help you with that.
it's
I
kind
can
of
feel the negativity on you now.
it's kind of like you ever seen the movie Ghost, and Oda Mae Brown is
Oh my
she's
God,
reading,
I
but then finally
just,
the first ghost comes out, and then
yes.
Oda Mae's like, "Oh, I can really hear a ghost,"
Yeah, I
you
literally
know.
just quoted that in with the last interview I did with somebody because we were talking about how when I was in the writing program, they would put us after we got done putting our story out there, they would put the writer in a box where you just sit there and be quiet and listen to everybody critique your story and stuff. And I had detailed about how when I was in the writer's box and I had submitted the story about this ongoing conversation between me and my ex-husband and how it evolved. That all of the men in the group wanted to sit there and say, I'm so sorry, your marriage just seems like it's on the rocks and it's bad and blah, blah, blah. And one of the guys stopped and was like, okay, to quote the movie Ghost, you in trouble, girl. And I was like, oh my God, am I? And that was before I realized like I'm probably gonna get a divorce. This is horrible, and but yeah, that movie was my awakening, I will tell you, because Oda Mae when she was freaking out about the ghost talking to her and like, just everybody stop it, and she like freaked out. I had one of those experiences once, and I was a kid. I was a kid, but it wasn't I was seeing them, I was hearing them. And that's the thing. I'm
I
clairaudient. I don't see a lot of stuff. I see flashes, I see sparkles. I know when something's in the room cuz shadows, but I hear them because they will
I heard
chatter at me
something.
all day long.
I heard something say hello to me about 2 days ago, and it was in my grandmother's voice. I
Mm.
jumped out of bed so freaking fast. I mean, I ran out of the room and I was like looking to see who was in the house. I was in my underwear looking around the house.
They don't care. They
And
just
I
want
was
your
like,
attention.
oh, okay. Was it? And it was just weird. I just heard the word hello, and it just sounded just like my grandmother. But yeah, I've had that happen to me too. But you know, this whole I love this experience, this whole podcast thing. I love it. I love it. I love it.
We should do one where we just talk psychic stories. Like,
We
what did
should.
your read go to? How did your read go today? Like, what was the topic? And then just
Yeah.
talk
I
about
should I could tell you, girl, I could tell you some stories of some scandalous things.
mm, samesies, samesies.
So we could exchange stories on that whenever you're ready for
Oh,
that.
you got to come back on here. We got to do that because I would.
Um,
Let me tell you, no naming names, no. But like, how's about I did a reading once where this lady came to me and she wanted to know which partner she should end up with, and I was like, okay, so are you dating two different people? Because I was getting this really weird feeling like she was married, but then she was also like married to this other person too. And I'm just thinking, oh my God, do I have like a closet polygamist in front of me? Like, this is crazy. And it was just this very strong, like she was committed to both of them at the same time. But it was because my brain wasn't allowing it to be like anything. And it turned out she was in a polyamorous relationship. And she was wondering if she should continue on with both of them or
that is
just,
some tea.
I
That is
know.
some
And then
tea.
like wanted to see which one she needed to stick with because she was also interested in this third guy that was like coming around, and I was like, "Oh my God, you're literally your worst enemy right now because you don't realize that you're already committed. Like you feel committed to them in your head. Like you're married to these people and that's what's making you want to run."
I yeah, I had something not so weird not too long ago where this girl was stealing money from the company she was working for, and I said, I was reading her cards. Says, I don't know why, but I see a lot of legal problems coming your way, or
Oh.
she freaked out. She's like, okay, I don't need to know anymore. I said, but you need to take care of it because if not, you're gonna have some really bad energy follow you. She freaked out.
I bet.
She freaks out. She's like, okay, okay, okay. Like I said, you need to take care of whatever you're doing because it's gonna fall back on you if you're not taking care of it. And I couldn't figure out what the details were. She's leaving my house, right? She gets sideswiped literally in front of my house, and the bumper of her Audi falls off into the street.
Oh my God.
Come to find out, she's the car that she's driving doesn't even belong to her. Belonged to a friend who was out of town and asked her not to drive his Audi.
So she's stealing money. She's driving cars that don't belong to her, and then she just gets into a car accident
in
outside
front
her psychic's house.
outside her second's house. So
That's
those are
some
some stories we got to do on a
those are some
podcast.
that's some good tea right there. That's awesome. I mean, not awesome for her. That's awful. I don't want to put that karma
But
out
it's a
there,
good
but
story. I mean, it's a good
it's a good
story.
story.
Yeah.
Okay,
Uh,
okay. So do okay. Now I'm remembering something I wanted to ask you earlier about, like when we were talking about relationships and stuff. Okay, so I do like I've been reading pretty much everything and everything because during the same thing during that ayahuasca ceremony, I was shown all of my soul ties, like all of the people who were tied to me in this life. And the person who came to me to like guide me through this was a good friend of mine that had passed away. And she was telling me, those are all the people you've pulled into this lifetime with you because you're a collector. That's what you do. You collect souls and you bring them with you because you know that they still have lessons to learn and that they have things that they need to do. Now, whether they do all of those things, that's not up to you, that's up to them. But all of these ties that you have connected to you. And she showed me they were like these very glowy lines that were all connected outward. And it was like a spider web out from me. Like I had them all coming out from the middle of my stomach. And I just kept thinking like, okay, but is this, and this question wasn't answered, but like, I just want to know what your take on this is. Yes, we have soul ties. We can cut them at any time. She told me that. She was like, you can cut them if you choose, but you're a collector. That's not your job. Your job is to collect and lead and guide. Um, but I wanted to ask the question about twin flames and soulmates because what was shown to me was that I have certain soulmates that I literally will live with in various timelines. And I got to see the face of one of them in particular who just kept flashing and their face kept changing. Like that was all of their incarnations that I had known them as, but I still recognized their soul. Like I knew exactly who that was, even with all these different faces. But the thing is, like this whole speak about twin flames and stuff, like what's your take on that? What do you think twin flames are, or are they do they even exist?
I do really do believe that I do believe in twin flames, and I do believe that there is a cosmic and karmic energy for these people to come together time and time again in different lifetimes and different forms. And I believe that one, love is very strong, but they never ever for some reason are able to make their full connections full and whole in lifetime. So they have to go through many lifetimes to be able to perfect their love time and time again. The love keeps perfecting as they go through the different life cycles, and that's what I think a twin flame is. Trying to it's an example of that would be like the Jewish culture. You have, in order to perfect your life, you have to. They have certain laws called mitzvahs, and there's like I think there's 614 mitzvahs, and if you complete these mitzvahs, you're a good person. You're a perfected soul. But there's some Jews that believe that you'll come back into the earth again. You'll return to earth as a human again to try to perfect yourself time and time again to be a better human. Same thing with twin flames. I really do feel like there's a deep connection with spiritually speaking with them, that their love there's a love and an attraction to each other, and it just happens that you're connecting again, and you're having to relive and reperfect that love to a higher
Mm.
self. So an example, I actually did a reading with this couple. I really do believe they were twin flames, but this time around, they've all through their life they've had many different one each of them have been married once, and they had many girlfriends and boyfriends. But with their marriage or previous marriages, none of them had children. It wasn't until they met each other and they came together, and well, the girl said, I feel like I've known him all my life, and he knows me. He even completes my sentences. He does this. I don't know why I feel like I said, well, I really do believe this is your twin flame. And kid you not, she was here to see if she's going to get pregnant. I said, you're going to be pregnant soon. And literally like a month later, I get a text message from her saying, I am pregnant. I have missed my period. I am 2 months pregnant right now.
Ooh. So
They,
she
they
was
just,
already pregnant when she was sitting in front of you
she
then,
was
right?
already pregnant when she was
Oh
sitting in front of me.
gosh.
And and I was like, maybe that's where the perfection is. Maybe in their past lifetimes, I was reflecting on this too in my meditations. maybe they never had a child in their last child, and they were supposed to have a child to perfect this twin flame. And so now that she's pregnant, now maybe this is the high point of their twin flame. And for her to say, "I've known him. I feel like I've known him all my life," and the guy was here with her. This completes me. I feel like I've known him like an eternity, and all these other things, you know, and they have a child now. The child, I think the child's going to be a year now. This is a while
Oh,
back. Yeah, crazy. It's crazy. Do I believe in twin? Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's just it's a perfection of our love. Twin flame, all it is for us to be a more perfect lover, more perfect person to perfect ourselves in love. That's all a twin flame is. It takes work to be at that higher point in love. You
oh
know,
yeah. No,
believe
I
me, ask JR. I'm not the easiest person to love. That guy, he gives me, if looks could kill, he would have murdered me a long time
are
ago.
any of us, we're all flawed. We're all flawed. Like, I am the worst when it comes to picking my clothes up off the floor. I'm probably the worst when it comes to, like, I don't know. Like, I'm cluttery. I'm cluttery. I'm very, ADHD because I like just leave stuff everywhere and then I'm flitting
Right,
around from one thing
right.
to the next. And, I've always been that way. So it's just very hard for me to like keep up after myself, but I'll yell at everybody else to pick up their shit. So like that's where the contradiction comes in. But the reason I ask that is because I'm in this process and I'm seeing all of this stuff play out into me and to me for me in this vision. So getting to see that and know that yes, these people are actual soulmates, but then to take it to the next level and say, okay, well, if that's my soulmate, how come we're not together? And number one, and number two, like why is it always so difficult? And why has it been difficult in all of our incarnations together? And if
We oh yeah, that the sometimes and what I sometimes that the perfection of to perfect love and it is a struggle. Love is something that you have to be willing to sacrifice parts of you in order and to surrender to in order for it to happen. And sometimes it takes us experiencing out things outside of a relationship. And I always use the example of the Notebook. I always go use
oh,
my movie reference
I
of
love
Noah
that
and Allie.
movie.
They keep going separate ways, but they end up coming back
Hmm.
together again, and they die together at the end of the
Yeah.
movie. But it it finding that soulmate, there is always going to be imperfections in a relationship. And if you think there's such thing as a perfect relationship, there's not. In the end when you come back to each other and you're like and you say things like I'm sorry, let's make things better, and you argue for the sake of fixing your relationship and not argue to win. A lot of people will argue in their relationship to win the
Yeah.
battle, but to argue to fix what needs to be fixed and to make things right and better and wholesome and blessed and full of life, but not to argue for winning. And I hate to say that, but that's a problem in the Filipino culture with my husband. They want to argue to win. And it's like, this is not chess, this is not Tetris, this is not a video game. You have to fix things and mend things and make things right, and be wholesome and 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 let go of the ego in the love too.
Yeah.
You know.
I can't tell you how many times, like going back to what we said about, reading for people who want relationships to work out, but they're not willing to put the work in because they just want what they want, and it's the sacrifice and the trust and the forgiveness and the surrender. And
Right.
instead of trying to be right and be the one that can hold it over the other person's head, why don't you just be in love and
Right.
say,
Exactly.
love is the ultimate reason we're together. Love is why I want you around because I love you, not because I want to be right and hold this over you.
I
And I
know
think
that.
that's
I
the
always look
biggest.
at. I always think of my poor JR. I think if I was JR and yeah, I had to deal with me, I would be like, I'm out.
No,
I'm just
no.
kidding. But I'll be honest with you. There's always that one person in the relationship that's the stronger one that can hold and is willing to put up with the other one's antics, and that's the compromise in a relationship. There's always that. There's always going to be the person that is the one that is more accepting, more loving, more enduring, and the other one that's more impatient, more headache. there's that imbalance. There's that balance, and that's what makes a relationship work. You
I think
know,
it goes back and forth though. I mean, like
it does. It does.
there probably are times that JR is way more patient and loving, and then it goes switches back, right? Where then you're
Oh,
the more
absolutely.
patient and loving.
One
So
of
it's that,
my one of
it's
my
that.
favorite quotes. One of my favorite quotes comes from my father-in-law, and my mother-in-law. My father-in-law, my mother-in-law would try to fight with my mother-in-law. He would tell her, "I don't feel like fighting. If you want to go fight with the neighbor, because I don't feel like fighting today." And I respect
Yeah.
those kind of that kind of older conventional wisdom where you're like, is it really worth an argument? Is it really worth the energy to destroy? You know, pet peeves and small things. Love is this great. It can be a struggle, and it could be a blessing, and it could be many things. But as long as you have to, the plane of love always has to be tilled, always has to be cultivating, and always has to be growing in a direction. Because the only way we're going, the only time we have is this little bit of time. Time is not our friend. Time
Mhm.
keeps ticking, and we have to make the best of what we can with what love that we're given when it comes to time.
So not time, but love.
But love, time is not our friend. We got
No.
to make the best. We got to make the best of our time, because in the end, God knows we don't know what the future brings to us in the inevitable. Whether you're driving down the street. I mean, we're both intuitives. I hope I never have to come across we're driving down the street and something happens to us. Or we need to make the best, you know, of that time. We need to make the best of what good we do have as human beings with us, because time keeps ticking. I mean, we started this podcast talking about how me getting progressive lenses, and getting older, and I realized that time is not a friend to us. Time keeps going, and you got to be able to try to live a more perfect and loving life, because time is limited. Time is
So
limited.
we have a finite amount of time, but an infinite amount of love we can give.
Absolutely.
I like that. I like that a
Yeah,
lot.
absolutely.
Okay, so other than intuitive arts and all of those things, like, okay, what is something that you're super passionate about that you don't really put on social media all that much, but like you really in your heart feel super passionate about it?
You want to know, and I think I've hinted to it all night. I love good writing. I love excellent writing. I love when uh, comedians write those great one-liners, and you're like, I could have thought of that. I love writing, and I love people that can write, and I love to be able to effectively communicate through either voice or through oration, to be people that can orate and really deliver. I What was that young girl's name? Was it Gossman, the girl that delivered the speech at Joe
Amanda,
Biden?
yeah, Amanda Gorman.
Gorman. I couldn't think of her name. She delivered the speech at Joe Biden's inauguration.
Be the
That
light. Yeah. Be the
she
light.
she hit me here, and I love that writing. And for her to just give that oration, and just to be able to convey everybody's sentiments in that one poem was amazing. And I really love writing and communication, and even like script writing and that kind of thing, where you listen to, you write, you see what people write, and you like. I was watching a Nora Ephron film the other day. She wrote this. She didn't get to live. She passed away before she wrote Julia and Julia, the screenplay for Julia and Julia.
I love that movie.
She also wrote Sleepless in Seattle and all those kind of stories. She was a great writer, and the way she was able to convey emotions through language and film. And the one thing that I took from her, the one quote I have, she says, "Everything is copy." So everything that she written about was copy. She just changed the names, and she observed the people, and she knew the stories, and everything is copy, you know? And that's one thing I like when it comes to writing. Everything is copy, because at some point, some way, in some unique way, measure, or form, the way things are, it's happened already, it's happened in a very unique way. you know.
So
I
what are you
love
writing?
what am I writing?
What are
Actually,
you writing?
now that I got my glasses and I can see the computer now, I can I'm gonna start writing. I want to start writing, and that's my passion. That's what I want to do. That's what I really want to do.
So spiritual advisor, spiritual guide, spiritual practitioner, writer.
Writer, that is coming. It's on the cusp, and it's coming. Yeah.
Okay. So with that, um, is there anything, okay, how do I phrase this question? What do you, okay, so we met through Bella, but like what was one of the things that stood out to you the most about when we first met? Like what stood out to you the most? Like what was your first take?
When I first met you through Bella, my first take was we would have been really good friends in high school. We would have been best friends in high school,
Probably.
because of the way we've communicated, and we hit it off right from the get go. But then your blunt honesty and your very nonchalant way of just your attractive spirit, your spirit. You have such a way and to communicate, to be able to to effectively get us involved and get us. We pick up. You and I don't know if you realize this. Like we have not. So we can to go months and months
Yeah.
without talking to each other,
I
and we
noticed.
pick up like we just we saw each other yesterday. You
Yeah.
know, and that's what I love about you. Is that we're able to to be able to start off and catch up with the kids and catch up with how you're doing and how life is going, and that everything I predicted has come through fruition for you, and the things that you predicted for me have come through for me. And my first impression was, wow, this is one amazing chick. This is
Oh.
one power woman, and at that point I was like, I see her in a better situation than what she's in now. I remember that right now.
I was
You were
very,
just,
yeah,
yeah, you were married and you were too stuck to move at that point right now. And then
too stuck. And then I was stuck on just like, where do I go from here? Like
I kept saying, and I remember saying, "You're moving to Washington one day." You're like, "What the? I don't know anybody in Washington."
yeah, I don't know anyone in Washington. Know what you're talking about.
And you
Yeah,
end up in
no, it was
Washington.
perfect prediction. Yeah, but it
Yeah,
was what I remember most about meeting you for the first time was Bella was just like beside herself of just like how positive you were and like what a great soul you were. And I was like, okay, let's meet this mystery guy. And we got there and it was like the first words out of your mouth were like you had known me for forever. And it was just like, oh, how are you doing? And you came up and gave me a hug, and he was just like, this is how I like greeting people. I'm a hugger too, so this is good. And then you rolled right into the readings and you were not shy about the types of jokes that were flying around the living room, and like everybody was like sex jokes this and dick jokes that, and it was just it was, and I was like, yes, like this is because Bella's very like blunt and open with stuff like that
oh
too.
my
and
god,
and I was not raised that way like that, so I was just like, I love that I can just talk like a grown ass woman and somebody, like
and
I
just
love
be
it.
free. Exactly.
Yeah.
I just yeah.
And it was very much a lesson to me, I think, meeting you and seeing you and Bella interact and stuff. It was just like I didn't really have friends that spoke that way and were just like open and free and just like, and even in my like it was like, mid 30s or something. And I just was like, where have I been my whole life? Where all these people are just like so face, and not willing to be authentic and just open and free and all of those things. And just being able to be that way with you guys
I,
was like, oh, okay, I got permission. Okay, cool.
I remember I remember reading for Bella and I said, "You're moving," and she's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna move to Las Vegas, and you're gonna meet someone there. You watch, and you're gonna get
Yep.
married." And she met somebody. She got somebody. She married somebody from Las Vegas.
You and I both told her that. You and I both
Yeah.
told her because she was like, okay, well, Richard told me some stuff, but I just want to like double check. And I was like, are you like comparing readings right now? but everything I said, you had already told her. So she was like, okay, so I'm moving and I'm going to meet somebody and it's going to be pretty quick. Okay, got it. And I was like, oh, okay, well, good. And then we're on
She
the same
left and she
page.
did it. She did. Yeah, she left and she did wonderful.
Yeah,
You
she's
know,
done amazing, and she's living the life. Yeah, so it's
she's
good.
doing really well. She's from you know, being in Hawaii with her parents and worrying about them, and then to like saying, "Screw this, I got to do me. I'm leaving." Yeah, she's doing amazing. I love her.
Yep.
I love her
Yep.
so much. I was so sad when she got married, and then me and JR had COVID.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
got COVID right at that time. I was like, oh my god, we hadn't got COVID the entire time, but
And then
right
the
at
one
the wedding,
weekend where you get to see
we
your predictions
yeah.
come to fruition,
Yeah.
you can't even go.
I can't even go because we got COVID. And Jared was like, "Did you predict that we're gonna get COVID?" I was like,
Yeah.
"No,
Thanks, universe. Thanks.
thank
Just
you."
thanks.
Yeah.
It's what happened. My hope is that we get to do three things next year. One is I want to go to South America and I want to go to like Peru and I want to do an actual shaman ceremony in Peru because I just feel like here's the thing. Here's the thing. This is going to sound totally wackadoodle Caucasian woman whatever, but this is like legit the thing. I was also told during the ayahuasca ceremony that this was my second life as a white woman and I didn't learn my lesson the first time. And I was brought back in this one to learn my lesson and learn it well, but I was to learn it from the memory keepers themselves.
Right.
I didn't know what that meant. I was just like, well, what does that mean? And then the more I've sat with it, and then I get those signs from the universe that say, you are meant to learn the things from the people who originally taught them. So you need to go to
Right.
them. And
Right. Right.
when I asked the question out loud the second night of ceremony, I said, well, what does that mean? It said, you will ask permission to be allowed into these places, and you will be allowed in because you're going to be humble about it and you're not going to colonize it. You are there to learn. And I was just like, okay, so that's where I need to start. So I'm hoping to go to Peru because here's the thing. Deb went to Peru a couple months ago and had an amazing time. She just got back. And she said that when she was she went to Machu Picchu, which is one of the places I wanted to go. And when I was in ceremony, I told her the next day, it was so weird. It was like I felt like I was three animals at once, and I don't know what that means. And I even got up in the middle of the ceremony and I asked the shaman, what does it mean when you're three animals at once? And she kind of looked around and she looked back at me and she said, it means you're between worlds and you need to choose one. And okay, I choose to be a bird because I was a hawk, I was a panther, and I was a snake. And it was like I was slithering.
I totally do. Yep.
Yeah,
I
it was the craziest feeling. And I just kept feeling like my hands were turning into talons. And then I was, like stalking prey and I was like, looking into the, trying to find people. And then I was slithering. I was in the ground slithering. So when I went
that's
up and I asked, what does that mean when you're three animals? And she was just like, you're between worlds and you need to choose one. And okay, I choose a bird. But when I said that and I went back to where I was supposed to be in ceremony, I wasn't a bird. I was pulled down through the earth at that point, and that's when I got shown this is your second time as a white person. You didn't learn your lesson the first time. So because you didn't learn, let's show you all of the horrible shit that happened to everybody along the way. And I got pulled through this whole entire experience of women just being mistreated, abused, horrifically tortured, like everything. And when I came out the other side of that and I was speaking to the shaman the next day, I was like, what does that mean? Why was I shown all of that? And she just looked at me with these wide eyes and she goes, remember what I said about stop being afraid of your gifts? You went on what is typically called the shaman's journey. You were shown your past lives, your ancestors, and they were screaming at you to do right by them this year. That not this year, in this life. And okay, that's a giant ask from the spirit world because
absolutely.
that's like the call to action, the hero's journey thing, right? And
I
I
will.
had
I will. I will tell you. I got invited to go to South America in February. I
you
got
should
invited.
go. You should
Well,
go.
I wish I could, but I cannot.
Why cannot
Um,
you?
I wish I could. I cannot. I literally got invited by my friend Sheila, and she's like, "Want to go?" The trip was like all inclusive, like for $3,200 flight and everything, from
Oh
Hawaii.
man.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
But
incredible. Like I didn't do it there, but that's what she was telling me. She's like, your next step is you need to go. And if you were meant to learn from the memory keepers, you need to go to the place of origin and you need to learn there. But if spirit told you you're not allowed to colonize it, it's because you're there to learn and bear witness. You are not there to take it and then go be a shaman somewhere in freaking Seattle.
Yeah.
You know, like that's not your job. Your job is then to take it on and then go to the
And go
next place
down.
and
Yeah.
learn from them and then go to the next place and learn from them. And the
Yeah.
funnier thing was, as a kid, I was always compiling lists of places I wanted to go that had ancient origins already. So
And did you have
that's
was Machu Picchu one of them?
yes,
You want
which
to know
was
something?
crazy.
The very first thing, you know, the funny, and this is the funny thing. I recently got an Oculus, and I got a National Geographic guide to like the world, and my first destination was Machu Picchu.
Nice. Oh, that's incredible.
I was in my living room looking around.
Hell yeah. No, it's on my I have like right around this little like thing that I have as a barrier. My vision board is up on the wall and Machu Picchu is up there. Kuala Lumpur is on there. There's a place in Bali I want to go to. There's a place in Thailand with like the giant sleeping Buddha that I want to go to. I mean, like all of these like super spiritual places. I want to go to Peru. I want to go experience that. I also want to go to Sedona because I have been told in multiple dreams this last year I need to go lay on the lines. And at first, I had no clue what that meant. I woke up from the dream going, "What the hell does that mean, lay on the
I
lines?"
gotta
And then
tell you
when,
this, JR. I gotta bring JR into this
no,
one.
go for it. Yeah.
JR, come here. You and I are on the same level.
Okay, cool.
JR, come here.
Hi, JR.
Doing this interview for her podcast. Come here.
Hi.
Yeah. Well, anyways, we're talking about that, and that was one of her goals. Like, we need to go on this trip. Let's go on this trip. Let's drive. I was like, let's go to Arizona. Let's go to. He's like, let's go to Palm Springs to stay at the Drag Motel, Trixie
No.
Motel. And I was like, well, then if we do that, then why don't we drive to Arizona? We go to Sedona and we go have our spiritual experience and get cleansed
Right.
by a shaman, an Indian shaman in Arizona, and going. You know, we were talking about Sedona, and I thought you ruined it.
Sorry, no, that was our plan.
That was our plan.
Got
We were
it.
talking about, but literally the trip that when I would go on to South America with Sheila would be Machu Picchu and Argentina, about Peru and Argentina. It's a two country trip.
Wow.
Yeah.
See, I want to
So
do Costa Rica and Peru just because they're closer proximity, but like Cusco is one of the places I want to go. And then, just I I have this very strong pull. Like that I just know I'm supposed to be there. And it's crazy because before all of this stuff that I got into, before I had dreams about this stuff, I had no clue. None. None. And I think when you really do open yourself up to receive signs and symbols and all those other things and you get dreams that tell you so you thought this thing, but really this thing instead. You get amazing messages. So yeah, that's what I'm hoping. But like, and then so it's like it's Peru,
I can't.
Sedona, and Disneyland. I want to go back to Disneyland.
Oh, sorry, sorry.
But no, it's funny because it's like you think but then the universe has other plans for you.
Right,
And mine is always I hear things, I dream things, and then I just know things. So I
right.
know that there's like different clairs out there for everything, but like what are your clairs specifically?
Me, I know things. I feel things. I hear things, and I get dream about things. Like I'll tell you that right now. Things that are symbols that I know that whether it's good or bad. I actually had a dream not too long ago about a viper. But this is back in March, and it's something. There was a sign there that let me know what was happening.
Mm.
You know, so those are the type of things that happen to me. I know things, I hear things, I see things, I feel things, and I dream things. You
Okay,
know,
so here's the thing. I kind of have a prediction about you.
what's your prediction? Come on up.
So my prediction is number one, I was told to tell you that your TikTok game needs to go up because you're not doing TikTok as much as you should.
I
You would get more traction if you started to really put your talent out there.
Okay.
I saw your number count go up. Like that was like in my like you know how you see your little TikTok profile with your picture and then like the number of followers underneath it or whatever. It's like I saw it go like the numbers were flipping rapidly. like I was watching your numbers grow because I think instead of taking that like cliche route of all these people like I'm just going to do a reading for the collective and you guys need to know this for the day. I think if you did like the psychic tip of the day, like intuition tip of the day, how to get people on that spiritual, give them spiritual nuggets, like give them those things that keep them coming back, and then hit them up with the link tree that has your website, your phone readings, all of that stuff. Because I think that's where your game plan needs to get upped a little bit. Because I was before we jumped on today, when you asked me for like you're like, hey, I'm gonna be a little late. It was funny because it was like right before you jumped on, I was chatting with somebody that I was interviewing like right before yours, and she was asking me if I was gonna do that. And for some reason, she was like, you really need to do your TikTok. And it came out of my mouth before I even realized what I said. I said, no, that's Richard's job. And she has no idea who you are.
That
And I
is
was like,
hilarious.
I'm sorry. And she goes, who's Richard? And I'm like, he's the person I'm going to be interviewing next. But like, I think that was a message for him. And then I started thinking about it during that little break time between you and her. And I was like, oh, I get it now. Like, that's what needs to happen. So it was basically just like, hey, so tell Richard he needs to up his TikTok game because that's where he's going to get a lot of his stuff. And also like redo your IG because the IG thing is going to like, Facebook is bullshit. IG and TikTok are where it's at.
Right.
Like that's what I was
Absolutely.
very clearly told to tell you. And it's not going to take you very long to hit like 30,000, 40,000, 50,000 followers as long as you do it like daily. And give tarot stories. Tarot
I am
stories.
gonna I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna listen to you because I've been not listening to that side of me. I let my ego go there. You know that?
Don't it see, and that's the thing. Like when I've been doing this, it's funny because it's I get in my head about things and I let doubt demons get in the way of what I really want to do. And what I really want to do is this, and I also want to do the same thing where I put TikToks out there and I get readings and I'm able to do that because that's what lights me up. I love teaching, don't get me wrong. I love teaching, but it's not as fulfilling as it used to be, and it's not as soul filling as it used to be. And I think that's where I also need to like start to maneuver. But so when she asked me, well, you should do this and this, I was like, no, that's Richard's job. And I was like, wait, what was that? Because it just kind of like bleh. So I honestly have been talking to myself out loud more just so I get past the brain space of the ego. But that is where you need to be. You need to be out there putting your message out because ultimately that's what you're here for.
I am gonna take that and I'm gonna run with it. You watch.
Make your
You have
space, do
just
your
answered. You have answered my. I'm gonna be honest with you. You've answered me.
really.
Yes. You've answered. You've been my flower. I asked for a flower. I asked for a
Aw.
flower. Sunflower.
Okay, good. Because I was like, is this either going to sound really crazy or he's going to be like, I don't want to fucking be
I
on TikTok.
know.
But
So crazy.
like, I just saw the numbers scrolling by quickly. Like, it's going to,
I'm gonna run with this because I feel that I needed this. I needed this. I've been manifesting this. I've been thinking. I've been so fearful because of the. I'll be honest with you. I was fearful of the
don't.
whole TikTok thing.
No. And see, that's the thing. I was also. And then when this idea came to me, it was based on what you said that I was going to be on social media. I was going to do something. And I thought maybe, okay, well, maybe I'll just go on TikTok like I had planned and just do the readings on TikTok or whatever. But something kept saying, now is not the right time for that. There's something else. And I was getting out of the shower and I was just thinking, I was like, okay, well, what could that possibly be? And then a friend called me and said, like I really need to talk to you if that's okay. And it was like 9:30 at night. She lives on the East Coast. And I was like, yeah, that's fine. And I hadn't spoken to her in months. So just like what you said earlier about like you could just pick up, after not speaking for a while and we're just like everything's fine. Same thing with this friend. So we're talking and she was just like, oh my God, you don't understand what a blanket you feel like when I speak to you because like I just needed to hear your voice because you're the only one that can bring me that type of comfort. And I was like, oh, well, why didn't you say something sooner? You could have called me. It would have been okay. And she was like, I know, but, hee haw, I don't know why. And then I just thought, like, but I always see your stuff on Facebook and I never see you struggling. You know, like you're not one of those people. And then I just thought, like, oh my God, well, how many other people are out there who are struggling just like this person and not saying anything? And one minute everything's happy memes, and then the next minute they're blowing my phone up at 9:30 at night. You're like, oh my gosh, like who haven't I talked to in a while? And then it just like I could not sleep that night. And I just thought, oh my gosh, well, this is what I need to do. And I need to do this where I do a podcast with people and like, hey, how's it going? How did we meet? How did everything go? What does our connection look like? You know, and run with that. And
Dude,
every single person I have interviewed, when I get to that point where I say, okay, what, give me one solid memory, good or bad, about, that you have between us. And every single person has said the almost identical thing. You were just this very confident, very light, happy, positive person. And I just wanted to be around you all the time. And I think this is
that is
such an
you.
amazing
That is
idea.
totally you.
I but
That
I
is
don't
you.
see that. I see ego Dom trying to keep me alive and not thriving, you know?
You are. I see so many good things coming your way. Yes.
Right. But you know what? The weird thing is, it's like, you remember what you said about eclipse season being like this weird, like things are going to come out of the woodwork shit? Like the weirdest people have been coming back into my life that I don't even have any contact with on social media. One emailed me last week and was just like, I know this is a long shot, but I had great memories pop up about us and I just wanted to see if it was possible to get back in touch. And I was like, delete. Like,
Yeah.
why? Why? And then
We can
and
often, as healers, we can often, we can go to a place where people will remember the things that we tell them, but we don't remember what we tell them at all.
that was the
Do
thing.
you
We had no
remember?
clue.
I'll be walking in the mall at Ala Moana, and a client of mine will come up. Richard, how are you? Do you remember me? You did my reading about 3 years ago, and I'm nice to see you. Good to see you. And I just play the blank face and like, do you know what? I got married like you said, and I did this like you said, and guess what? I'm starting my business, and I'm taking it to Las Vegas now. And this one person had stopped me, and it's just like I'm like, wow, I helped these people get to this place, but I don't remember any of that reading at all.
Right. Right.
It was very detail oriented too when they come through. You said I would do this, and it can even happen to me where I'm reading tarot, and the next day the person will call me back and be like, yesterday in our reading you said this. Can you elaborate more? Wait, I'm not doing your reading now because I don't remember what the reading was about
Yeah.
yesterday. Where you zone into that, you get into the zone because when you're in that spiritual zone, it can be you're there, and then when they leave, it's gone. It's out of the window. It's like
Exactly.
I constantly cause it. I call this table my psychic confessional. Whatever happens here stays here, and I don't remember what was said. You know, I don't remember
Yeah.
what was said
Yeah.
because there are women that have come to me for readings that will tell you what they've done with their Sancho, with their side because they're cheating on their husbands or whatever, and they'll
Hmm.
let it all out. But I won't. I won't. I mean, I don't hold on to it. I don't hold on to it. Would you think my 23-year-old tennis instructor will be with me, and I'm a 48-year-old woman? I don't think so. I think he's just, he's there to serve the purpose, and that's it.
Yeah.
So yeah, we have to have psychic tea
I'm
or
telling you. I mean, it's like we gotta be like, okay, you can book a reading with us, but don't be mad if your story makes the tea. Not that I want to air anybody's dirty laundry, but I think some people just get this wrong idea about tarot readers as a whole because it's like, we're not your therapists. We are there to guide you. We are there to help heal you. But at the same time, like, if you come to us with the same problem and you don't ever intend on healing, you got to stop coming to us because we're no longer for you.
yeah, because people want us to tell them what they want to hear, and that's not right. That's not right either. That's not ethical on our part.
No. And that's what I was saying
Sometimes,
earlier about like the want, the need, and the alignment with their higher self. Like what is for the highest good. So if I tell you and I sugarcoat this shit and I send you away happy and you've given me your money, great. I am unethically giving you that reading then because I'm not in it for the help and I'm not in it for the guidance. I'm in it for the money you just handed me.
right?
That's
Nothing.
why I
And I always tell
never
people when I read, I'm reading you. You're paying for my time. You're not paying for the tarot reading. You're
thank you.
paying for the
Yes.
time.
Yes. And
because that's it says the talent, you don't charge for the talent, you charge for the time.
right.
And that's what I tell people. I'm here to help you, but I'm gonna be honest with you. If you don't like what is coming through in the reading, don't be upset with me. And
Sorry.
then I always get that person who gets upset, they're dissatisfied, and then 3 months later they're calling, can I have another reading with you? Because last time I walked away unhappy, but you really, okay, book another reading. Here's my website.
That's
But
why I
thank
always
you.
tell them you might not hear what you want to
Yeah,
know or hear, but you're going to get what you need to hear. And because
great.
that's the thing, like a client can ask a question. You throw the cards out and the cards are telling you something completely different than what they just asked when you're like, "Uh-oh."
I even had thrown the cards, and where the face value of the card, you're not reading the face value, but something else comes through that one
Yep.
tarot. You're like, there's something in the background that comes forth that tells you the story, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is what this is. Yeah, I've had that happen too.
Or you've had a whole story play out in front of you.
Yeah.
Yep.
I see the whole thing coming through, or I see things happening, and you know, it's pretty interesting. It's pretty interesting to see, and then you have people that you tell that happens, and tell things that happen. And there was a girl that was trying to get pregnant. I said, you're not going to get pregnant now, you're going to get pregnant this time. She got pregnant, then miscarried. And you told me I was going to get pregnant. I said, yes, I told you were going to get pregnant, but I didn't foresee the miscarriage. I will be honest with you. And
Yeah.
she was like, why did you tell me I was going to miscarry? It's not my job to predict that part of it.
You
Not to
can't.
say
That's
that.
because like that was one of the things I got really upset with some people that were like, "Oh, well, none of these giant psychics knew that COVID was going to hit." Nobody knew. Nobody knew that.
I will tell you, I will tell you, I knew something was coming, but I didn't know what it was. Jared and I were supposed to go to Washington D.C. that spring break. I said, JR, we were going to go to San Antonio and then fly to DC before my dad sold his house. And I said, JR, something's telling me not to go. Like, there's going to be a terrorist attack or something's happening. And I don't know why. He's like, why? He kept telling me, buy the tickets for Washington. Go ahead and buy them. Like, no, I'm going to wait. I'm going to buy. March 13th comes, COVID comes, and we were shut down.
Mm-hmm.
And I just couldn't predict COVID. I did predict something was coming. I just didn't know when.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyways, thank you so much for tonight. I have to run now, but
No, me too. I went 15 minutes over than I was supposed to go. It's always so fun talking to you.
Okay. Love you, babe.
I love you too. Okay, bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for joining me for this latest episode of Have We Really Met? Stick around for more interviews, more connections, where I poke and prod my social media list and ask them, have we really met? So until next time, I'm Dominique.